Hello, everybody. This is Coach Bala here. Welcome to yet another episode of Reflections, our podcast series with runners, friends, luminaries, special people, chief guests, you name it, celebrities. We've been doing this for many years now, and it is always a very exciting time for me to take this an hour or so to connect with some very interesting friends and people and go behind the scenes, understand them as a human being, understand their motivations, what they have done, and what we can learn from their journey. That is the idea behind reflection, especially for those of you who are kind of coming to this series for the first time. That's really what it is. And over the years in Runner's Eye season, we probably have produced maybe, I mean, we're not keeping count, but probably touching 100 episodes now. And it's definitely one of the most popular content in our ecosystem. And it is with that introduction, I am super excited to kickstart this special episode with three very special people. Now, more than anything, these three are my very, very good friends as well. So it's possible that this podcast suddenly might go into just three friends talking to each other and just enjoying themselves. So I'll try to restrict myself and make it on point. But there is a particular incredible achievement that these three did recently, last weekend, in fact, and they all are proudly wearing a t-shirt. If you look at one of their t-shirts, it's written IronMan Lake Placid. And as the name suggests, it sounds ominous. Iron Man, or I'm sure some of you may not even know what that is, but let me tell you, it is something incredible. And all three have just completed that historic achievement of their lives last weekend. And I caught them just this week before they just go back to their regular lives. I wanted to kind of connect with them and understand what this is all about. What is their journey? How did they experience this? And what are some of the learnings that we can get from them? So that's really what this episode is. So as you can imagine, this is going to be a very exciting episode to get into that. So before we do anything, let me offer our guests a little bit of time to introduce themselves. So let's start with guest one. Please go ahead and introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, hello, this is Manoj Ostwal. I was born and brought up in Karnataka. And then, I've lived most of my life there. And over there, I did my engineering in BUB College, which is, I think, renamed to Karnataka College right now. And after that, I moved to Pune for a couple of years, worked as a member technical staff under Department of, Electronics. And after that, I moved to US in, I would say, 1999. And since then, I've just been here. And over here, I've primarily worked within the capital markets and investment banking space, providing them, with digital transformation solutions over the years. I actually, in fact, was there for 9/11 when it happened. It was one of the unfortunate days which I've ever witnessed. But that said, after that, moved along, in terms of what we need to do. I got married in 2001. My wife's name is Ritu, right? And then I have two kids, Zia as well as Kalp. Zia is actually doing her outside college, and she's in third year college. My son is in 11th grade, right? And besides that, I used to not even be a sports or an athlete. I used to shy away from everything, even during my school days. If there was a sports day, I used to hide and go into the bunkers, right, and not even be there, right? And in 2014, it actually changed because I saw my dad, who used to be very healthy, no prior symptoms, no conditions. All of a sudden, he just went away, and that's when I realized something is not appropriate. And I started looking at what else can I do to possibly get into and motivate my family primarily. So I started walking a bit, and 2016 is when I started running and doing a few other things. After that point, that's
Wow.
that's a little bit about myself. Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. And Manoj, I thought you missed one very, very important element of who you are as an introduction. You are a coach, Manoj, in RHWP. All of us know you, one of our hotshot coaches. So thank you for your volunteering service to the runners and runners I coach. I mean, it's your second season as coach, and just by looking at the number of people who wants to be coached by you, that just tells you how much you put into it. So I really wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for that hat
Yeah.
that you wear as well, in addition to so many
Yeah.
other wonderful things that you just said. Man, being at 9/11 on that day, were you in that complex at that time or were you going towards that complex?
So I used to work in Seven World Trade, and that was the building right beside the Twin Towers. When I got out of the Path station, the first building had just got hit. And then I entered my Seven World Trade building because I'm like fresh in the US, did not know that you have these processes where you're not supposed to enter the building. Went into my building on 29th floor, and I'm looking out and I just see that another flight or another plane comes and crashes into another tower.
You
That's when
actually
I
see it.
realized, yeah, I saw it. And then that's when I realized it's not safe to be in the building, and came down. And when I came down, we had to exit through, the staircase, obviously, walked down the 29 floors, came out. And when we came out, we were seeing some people jump from the Twin Towers. And we were like, what's happening here? Went to the cops and told, can we help? Cops said, get the heck out of here.
My
And
God.
that's when we realized there's no point in staying back or whatever. So we started walking away from those buildings. So I was primarily walking on the Greenwich Street, if you all know, just walking, away from the World Trade Center towards, more like uptown towards, right?
Wow. No, as they say, right, a human being's life is just a collection of many such incidents that shape a human being's path.
Yeah,
And I'm sure this was an indelible mark for you in various other reflecting the life
yeah.
and so many other things. So thanks for sharing that. But you also just have another wonderful milestone moment of your life that just happened last weekend. So let us talk about that too shortly. So thanks for the introduction, Coach. Let's
Yeah.
invite the second guest to introduce himself. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. My name is Sudeep John. am basically from Kerala, but I grew up in a small place called Rourkela, Orissa. I went to IIT BHU, mechanical engineering. I graduated in 1996. Then I did my MBA from Xavier's Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar, graduated in 1998. Came to the US in 2000, worked, studied in City University of New York, did my master's and graduated in 2001. And after that, I worked in investment bank technology, and now I for 20 years, and then worked in a large cloud provider, AWS, for the last 4.5 years. My family, Shireen is my family. She's part of RHWB, a family member of RHWB. I've got two kids. Shreyas, he's doing his internship in New York City, and I have Suchita, who's a rising sophomore, and so she's there. And then I have a third kid, a dog, Skylar. She's 5 years old, and will always be around me when I'm in working from home.
Awesome. What breed
That's
is
me in brief.
what breed is Kyla?
She's a golden retriever, yeah,
Oh,
and as you know, they are the loveliest animals you can think about. Yeah, so and
absolutely.
really, yeah, yeah,
And
so
Sudeep,
loving, so caring.
you seem to have been studying a lot till 2001. You've been just studying one college after college after college, huh? That's amazing. Man. Welcome, buddy. Welcome, Steve. And
Thank you.
can't wait to talk about the last weekend experiences and path to that. Wonderful. So let's welcome the third guest. Please go ahead.
Sure. Hi, Bala. Thanks for inviting us on this podcast. Good to see you again and glad to be on this episode with you. I guess, I spent some time with some RHWB members, so most of them know me. But again, I'm Sajith Gopinath. I was born in Kerala, brought up in Chennai all my life, been there till the year 2000, did my engineering from Hindustan Engineering. Worked for 6 years. Around 2006, I moved to the Middle East. I was working in Dubai and then moved to the US only in 2012, probably a newbie among all of you guys here. After that, I've been here ever since. I did my master's from University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. and my wife Suhasini, and kids Siddharth and Samrit. We live in South Brunswick. I've never been an athlete ever in my life before, never in school, done nothing. I couldn't even run probably a mile or two till 2020, probably. I used to bike a bit, used to play racquetball a bit, but I injured my, cervical. I had a herniated disc. I stopped everything. But then, the midlife strikes, crisis strikes, and then got back into a couple of things. But yeah, I'll explain through the journey.
Yes,
Thanks,
yes. Sudeep and Coach Manoj touched on the athletic or the lack of athletic journey, sort of expertise in their life till a certain point. Sudeep, how was yours? Were you athletic at all in your college time or before around that time?
It was not athletic. My brother was an athlete. He would come home with a lot of medals and he was the MVP. I was the studious guy with the
Yeah.
books always. You touched on it. So I would be with the books and he would be the athlete. And I would take his medals and put it on my neck and just take photos. My dad would take my photos and I would be happy with that. I was not athletic at all. I was fat. I grew fat. I ate a
Yeah,
lot, things like that.
that's
The only thing I played was cricket. I used to love cricket,
right.
but that was my passion at some point of time.
So I think across the three of you, there are some themes that are very clear, right? Theme one is all three are in some way or the other well connected in the RHWB ecosystem through family, through coaching. And Sudeep does, Sajith does so many things. For instance, folks, Sajith is one of the primary, operator for us to create that first marathon vacations program of RHWB that we're all going to Istanbul. So thank you, Sajid, for all your contributions and making that first time a reality for us. So that's one very good connection across from an RHWB landscape as well. The second thing is none of them are any big athlete of any repute. I don't think so. They had a medal that they earned themselves till maybe 2000s. Like I think maybe one here and there by mistake they might have got some medals, but never like won an award and got into the podium even in a 5K local race or local 100. I don't think so. Is that a fair statement for three of you? No medals ever. Athletic medals, I mean. None. So that's
Best medal
therefore
is RSWB for me.
this is the
RSWB
first.
Half Marathon 2021.
That is
That's
the
the
first
first
medal.
medal.
So they have not got any experience of being in athletic sort of programs. And no, I'm talking about when you're in a youth. This is like, just 10, 15 years max. They got the first touch of a medal in their body that they earned and not purchased or got from the brother, Sudeep's brothers. No, nothing like that. So that's another commonality among the three. But then there is one more beautiful commonality right now, which is all three are Ironman athletes. Now, that's a huge leap from what I just said in the previous sentence to this sentence. And that's what this episode is going to be about. And we'll double click on it. So let me start with Coach Manoj here. So, Coach, you are coaching runners on half marathons, full marathons, and all different distances. But for someone who has no clue what is the meaning of a triathlon, put your coach hat and just tell us, like, what is a triathlon?
So triathlon is a discipline of three various activities. And there is another important, discipline which nobody talks about, but that is, fueling. Let me go through each one of them. First one is a swim. So if it also depends upon various types of, events you have. Ironman, has a distance of 2.4 miles, roughly 4,200 or 4,400 yards, right? And then you bike for 112 miles. And after you bike, you run a marathon, which is, 26.2 miles. This is, called, I would say, full marathon. Similarly, you have a half Ironman, right? Sorry, that is basically full Ironman.
Full Ironman, yep.
Ironman, yes. And then similarly, you have a half Ironman, which is going to be half the distance. Then you also have something called as Olympic distance, which is going to be half of the half Ironman. And I can, we can basically go through the distances, but yeah, this is how it is defined. And the final version of it is going to be a sprint, which is equivalent of a 5K, in other words, for a basically, I would say for a runner, right? And that's the distance which you sort of run as well in that, right?
Got it.
That's how it is shaped.
Got it. So if a runner has to understand a triathlon, Then it's 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon. Equivalent of that is sprint,
Yes.
Olympic, half Ironman, and full Ironman. That's the basic
Yes,
way to
exactly.
understand this.
That is the way to understand it. Yes.
Got it. Sudeep, so when he mentioned a little bit about this three, swimming, biking, and running in triathlon. So how does this work? Are they expected to do this back to back, or is there some rest you can take in between? Like, what is the process here?
No, you get a massage in between all three. You get to have a buffet in lunch in between all of that. You get all of that. That's how, no, all kidding aside, that is how it is. You have to do all three in a sequence. The
Okay.
swim is the first leg of the triathlon,
You
where
must do
you
swim
get
as
into
the
the
first
water.
one. You must do swimming
Correct.
as the first one. Got
You
it.
must do swim as the first. And the
Okay.
swim is not in a swimming pool by any chance.
Okay.
You have to swim in an open water. It can be a lake, it can be a river, it can be also the ocean. The swim is the first part of it. In our case, it was the lake. The second part, in those same clothes, if possible, or change of clothes, you bike, right? So you change, get out of the swimming pool, you're wet, you're dripping, you are getting on the bike, and you're clipping onto the bike, and you're biking hard. Now imagine what is happening to your legs when you're biking and you're going through that motion. So you're swimming, you're flat out and you're swimming. So you're coming out, your leg lightheaded. You're biking, and at that point of time, your bike is the portion your legs are getting hammered out. And then when you get out of the bike, try to run. So when you get out of the bike, now you have to run immediately after. And all the time you have to eat and keep yourself nutrition so that you're doing all three legs. So you have to do all three together. There is no massage, no buffet, nothing in between, no
So,
sleeping bag in between.
so you plan your nutrition and you also plan your gears, I'm assuming, right? You cannot you probably
Correct.
have some other gears for swimming, change up into biking gears and then change up into running gear. Is that how it is?
Correct. Yeah, as opposed to a running marathon. I mean, there is some quote out there which says triathletes, the most important part is your planning aspect of it, the planning. You have to have the gear for the swimming gear, which is your wetsuit, the biking gear, which is the shoes and helmet and the gloves and everything else, and then your running gear, if or whatever is needed from your running shoes, everything is there, and everything is kind of arranged in different bags across transition. So between the swim to the bike, it's called transition one, where you're swimming, coming, changing into bike gear and going. From the bike to the run, it's called transition two, where you have to change into run gear and do the run. So it's a conglomerate of different things. It's also how you train, how you plan, and how you execute.
Correct. So that's
That's
why I
life
guess
lessons that you.
right. That's what Coach Manoj just looks like he's talking about. It's not only these three, but it's the nutrition and the logistics arrangement is equally important for you to be eventually successful. And Sajith, when I wear my running coaching hat, if some runner says, "Hey, I want to do a half marathon," then I can just point them to like a million places which offers half marathon, right? And New York City, that there's so many. Like that, what is the ecosystem for triathlon? Like, is there an ecosystem like how do we go about starting this triathlon journey?
Yeah, so I would say it's not as easy as running because I got into biking and running. I would say 90% of athletes don't get into triathlons because of the swim portion of it, right? Because a lot of them are not great swimmers or they fear open water swimming.
Yep.
This starts with that. Like say, as like I go, my journey goes. I didn't know even how to swim one lap in a pool probably 2 years back, right? I started running, but then when people encouraged me to do triathlons, I wouldn't get into the water. I signed my first triathlon, went to the lake. I said, I'm not getting into this. I'm going to die. So I come back. So that's what pulls many triathletes back. So swimming is one of the biggest concerns that they. So once you conquer that fear of swimming, I would say anybody could get this over because it's all land after that. Most of them could bike well, and running, yes, over a period of time you could get this. But swimming is something that I would always encourage. If you're good at it, triathlon is super easy. If you're bad at it, it's not that it's not impossible. I've done it. It's definitely possible.
And are there organizations that provide these triathlon events? Like in New
Yes.
Jersey,
So
like what are the events?
it's like how we have RSWB specific for running, we do have triathlon clubs. Like Sudeep is a part of Run Around Princeton, which is also a running group, but it also has a triathlon group. So we are a part of the Run Around Princeton triathlon group. Like that, we have multiple clubs for triathlons, but not as large as the running groups are, right? It's a smaller group of people who can do all the three together.
Totally. No, and I totally relate to what you just now said, Sajith. See, I mean, audience, my background, I am from the Merchant Navy. I mean, my job for 10 years used to be on the high seas, on 10 years on the ship. So, you know, theoretically, I'm supposed to be comfortable. If, let's say, the ship goes down, at least, comfortable. If not swimming, I can't be, I'll expect to swim the Atlantic to save myself, but, at least be there until someone comes and rescues, right? But why I'm saying this, Sajid, is recently, I never thought, I had never actually gone into open water. Never. And I am a decent swimmer. I could do 100 laps when I used to swim properly. I used to do 100 laps continuously in the Olympic pool inside. I was just wanted to do snorkeling. I've never done snorkeling in my life. And I just jumped into open water in Thailand in my vacation last year. Dude, I had a panic attack. I actually had a panic attack. Forget about swimming. I just went there, and then the swell of the water coming, and in my eye level, I saw like an endless amount of water. And this is me with 10 years of background in merchant marine. I had such a big panic attack. I thought I will probably drown. I forgot that I could swim. So when you say the fear of that is huge, or when I looked down, it was darkness. Nothing was, seen. That was another crazy experience. I'm sure you all experienced that too when you started
Yes,
training,
yes.
right?
I just want to add, no, absolutely. Just to add, you were asking about the ecosystem and things like that. So because it's not that there's not so many races. For example, there are tons of sprint races that happen all across New Jersey. Tons meaning there is, DQ event, there is Mercer Park where we all run, there is an event there. There are tons of these small events which start across. And, I mean, conquering the open water is definitely there, but, but we can definitely get into it. But you don't have to get into a full Ironman. You can start very, very small with just a small sprint. And there are at least, when I had looked at it, when I was looking at it, and a numbers guy, I think there are about close to 40 odd sprint events that happen across the year just within New Jersey.
With open water swims.
With open water swims.
Wow. Okay, that's something, audience, like while we'll discuss Ironman today, which is the full marathon equivalent, which we are going to, just to remind, Ironman, please help me, the distances, you go and jump into the water and you swim for 2.1 miles. Is that what you said?
4 miles, 2.4.
2.4 miles of swimming in open water, continuous, no rest and all, because you are in open water. Come back, change up, take your bike, and then bike for how many miles?
112.
112 miles. That means New York City to Philadelphia or something like that. I think maybe around that distance, continuously swimming. So 2.1 miles is like Hudson, I don't know, like a good length of Hudson that spans the New York City probably. That's what really a 2.1 mile probably would look like, open water. And then after that, you go and do a full marathon at 26.1 mile, all back to back to back. And is there a time restriction, or you can take your own sweet time to finish this?
17 hours is the restriction.
17 hours.
Yes.
In 17
Within
hours, if you
17
don't finish it, you're what, shut down, or you don't get a certificate?
You will
DNF.
be, did not finish. You'll get a DNF, no medals and stuff after. Like if you cross the finish line after 12, I think midnight is the cutoff for them. Race starts at usually 6:30 in the morning. At midnight is the cutoff.
Okay,
17 hours from the time you started.
Okay, by midnight, you don't come to the finish line, you're done. All your effort is like, at least you're not Iron Man, you're just a man.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, guys.
And just to add, there is a cutoff for each leg. So swim you have to do within 2 hours 20 minutes. Bike and swim combination you have to do within 10 hours 25 or 40, 20 minutes.
No,
and then
no, I
you
think
have the remaining. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
this
thought
is for this one.
Got it.
But yeah.
Okay, some cutoffs are there. Basically, it's not the total cutoff is your point. Like it's the individual section cutoffs are also there. Wonderful. Okay, let's get back to Coach Manoj now. Okay. Now, this is, as audience, as you can imagine, this is heavy duty stuff. This is not for the light-hearted, and this is not for the three folks who we just said as they are not athletes at all. They are super duper athletes to do this. And of course, you guys would have started off with sprint and then went to Olympic and then went to half Ironman, and now you have done full marathon. So full Ironman. So the audience should note that nobody can just like jump into Ironman and then do this. It's a process, but which is what we're going to talk about. So, so Manoj, reflect on why Ironman. I mean, you've done your share of full marathoner. You're a Boston qualified full marathon. I don't know. You've done multiple Boston marathons. You are a PR of what, 3:15, 3:16 or something like that. Is that right? You're a fast,
3:15, yeah.
yeah, you're a fast, good runner who runs maybe on an average 3,000 miles a year or something like that. If somebody can go to his Strava profile, you'll know what I'm talking about. You are a running god, a demigod in the RHWB circles. So I'm sure you are happy with it. You did a great job, and suddenly you decided to do this, inflict this pain onto yourself. Ironman. Why?
It all started sometime last year, right? And as basically Sajith mentioned, I was not a swimmer at all. And so if I'm in the water, I'm not going to put my head in the water. That's it, period. My head has to always be above the water. And that's why I used to never go into the ocean or do any swimming or anything like that. So last year is when I decided that I need to do something. I heard Tej, Sajid, Sudeep, Amar Bhai, they were all thinking about doing this, Augusta, Maine half Ironman. And I got a little bit inspired. I was like, okay, I have a fear of water. I don't know how to swim. But at the same time, what was also happening was I had a plant tire, right, which was there from 2022 onwards, and I wasn't running that much. So I was like, what else can I do, right, so that I can maintain my fitness? And when I saw that these guys signed up for this event, right? And they, I think, paid $350 or whatever for this event, which I ended up paying 600, by the way, just letting you guys know, right? And I'll actually go through the journey on that. So what happened was I said, okay, let me start swimming. I did not sign up for the event at all. I said, let me sign up swimming. So Jan of 2023 is when I started going to the pool. Religiously went 4 to 5 days, every week. I used to be in the pool, used to have no understanding of swimming, used to just basically crazily swim, like have my head up in the
Yeah,
water. I used to get exhausted because I was
exhausted.
able to
Yeah.
stretch, for like a couple of laps, but then I was exhausted. I couldn't do more than that. Right. And then I started looking at YouTube to figure out what can I do to improve my swim technique. And that's when I figured out that you need to put your head in the water, you need to breathe out in the water, and breathe in when your head is tilted, like on basically the sideways. And I started slowly learning into getting into that. So by April is when I was started getting comfortable. April of 2023 is when I started getting comfortable in the water, right? And I think somewhere around end of May, right, or maybe even June is when I signed up, and that's why I ended up paying $600 or $650.
So it
Right, that's
sounds
the
like,
journey, right?
yeah, it sounds like, you were comfortable with the running portion of it, and you wanted to give yourself like a challenge, the status quo kind of a scenario where let
Right.
me pick up something which puts me back into an uncomfortable, zone, which is swimming in this case. And you said that's a
Yeah.
good challenge. And you saw some of your friends are also doing around you. So it's not as if you have some benchmarks around you. And you said, let's do it. And it looks like half Ironman. And then you had a good experience and you thought, okay, let's take it up to full. That's one nice way of getting there. You have already a good base, which is the running base is there. At least one,
Yeah.
And biking, have you done biking at all at that time? Or even that was
No, I used to not bike at all,
interesting.
and I used to have those kiddie bikes or whatever you call them.
Yeah,
And then last year is when when I started getting serious, right? I think I ended up buying a bike sometime in like end of May is when
right.
I bought like a decent sized bike, a road bike. Hearing obviously Tej as well as Sajith, and they were all talking about a road bike, so I ended up investing in a road bike at that point,
Of course. See,
and started doing some biking as well.
right. See, that is one thing, audience. I just wanted to point out one interesting learning here, right? See, in the US, there is an ecosystem for every hobby you can pick up. There's a beautiful ecosystem. Why US? I'm sure in other countries too, but since the audience largely here is US. So when you pick up something called triathlon, you realize that till now you never knew this ecosystem was around you. And suddenly you just get into this ecosystem, and then there is this biking terminologies, swimming terminologies. There's so much to learn. And if you are having that learning mindset, then it's a very exciting, like how it is running. Before running, nobody knew what was running ecosystem, and now we know it's a huge ecosystem. And likewise, triathlon offers you three separate ecosystems now: cycling, biking, biking, running, and swimming ecosystems. So I can see why someone like you, Manoj, inquisitive, new learning kind of a person, kind of working hard to get there, is what you like. That's your journey, and Ironman gave you that wonderful goal to go for it. So let's talk a little bit more about it. So let's go to you, Sudeep. Why Ironman for you?
Ironman for me. So my journey on triathlon started with $1. I used to work in Wall Street, and I was, overweight at some point of time and things like that. And my boss at that point in time, hey, I need to get fit for summer. Need somebody, so let's have a $1 bet between you and me to see how many times we can hit the gym. And he was a triathlete, by the way. So
This
it
is
was a
when?
one
This is
dollar.
when?
This is 2016. I was in a
16.
company
Okay.
called Credit Suisse. Yeah, Credit Suisse. Now that company doesn't exist, but 2015, 2016. So it was a $1 bet that got me interested into it. I was running a little bit before. I'd done a couple of half full marathons, not at the size of Manoj at all. One marathon, and I would say, hey, I'm not going to touch a marathon anymore. But that's how I got into it. So he was a triathlete. He said, hey, let's do this. Let's do a run. And I started with an 8K run. Then, okay, let me do a little bit of bike, which was, one of those, Walmart bikes I started with. And then, swim, same problem. I did not know how to swim properly. So let me get some coach. And I got into coaching with some people, and that they taught me how to swim. So it was a thing. And it was a very slow journey. It was not like something just to be fit. But for me, it was very important to cross train myself, because running a lot would give me injury for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So I got into triathlon for that reason, to cross train with run, which I used to love at that point of time, to swim and bike. So that's how I got into it. So in
Interesting.
2016 was my first sprint triathlon, something like that.
So 2016, your first sprint triathlon, and 2024. So it's a good, well thought out, experienced journey to go from like the 5K to full marathon equivalent. Looks like in Manoj's
Correct.
case, that was just in
It
all
was
condensed down into maybe 1 or 2 years max, looks like.
exactly.
1 year. So of course, so you have,
Yeah.
people come in different forms and shapes. So there you go. So there is one here. 6 years it took for him, or more than 6 years. What, 2016 you said? So it's like 8 years from
Yes.
the first foray into triathlon world, and then kind of conquering the highest sort of, should I say, peak of the triathlon world, which is Ironman. So that's another journey that's a very slow and steady, and trying to slowly improve on all the three facets. How was that for you, Sajith? How did that go, and why is that you decided to do an Ironman?
Actually, the word Ironman I first heard in 2012 or 13 from one of our close friends and RSWB chief guest Atul. Right, he was working with me in the same company, and he comes back and puts up a blog as usual. He's a good writer. He puts up this blog about what he's done at an Ironman. I said Ironman, and I read the first thing when I look at the distance. I said this guy is nuts. This is not normal person doing this, right? I first again thought, is it over 3-4 days? Is it over 1 week? What did you do? It's over a day. I said, this is not the friend I need. Just cut him off. And my life was all partying and fun, and that's
Yeah.
what that's the day I last talked to Atul about that. Then as destiny strikes, we come back again, probably in 2021 sometimes again, because our close friend again, Xavier, RSWB runner, he got us back again. And that's when I meet Tej as a part of this whole ecosystem. Again, our RSWB chief guest. So he is just not a person who tells you what to do. He motivates you how to get there. I think he made me sign up for the first marathon. I couldn't even run, as I was telling, more than 2-3 miles early 2021. COVID struck. I think there were some spots open for the New York City Marathon. He got me in. And once I finished the marathon, he says, "Buddy, you've done a marathon. Now, why don't you do an Ironman?" I said, "What do you mean? This itself a struggle. I was scrambling to finish a run." No, you're already biking. You need to do. I said, "I can't swim, buddy. Forget that. I'll just do this. That's it." He said, "No, you're signing up." Forced me, signed up. First, I think an Olympic race, a sprint race, actually. I go to the lake. I look at the lake. I said, "No way I'm dying in this lake today." I come out and then I do a virtual triathlon. That's how I first so it is, I think, the friendship or the group of friends, even though it crossed me in 2013, this name and this, it was a different life altogether. But this came back again as Destiny Strikes 2020, the real set of team coming and motivating and giving the guidelines. See, more importantly, is not someone doing this for themselves and earning the pride, how they motivate others to also do this and get you there. That's what probably got me. I'm never a person of this sort. People are like, my family, friends are all surprised. Why are you were not this kind, right? So yeah, that's, I think I would thank Tej mostly, and then Atul, to who got me into this whole ecosystem.
Wow. See, listen, audience, we have such a perfect continuum of three characters with three different, completely different paths to the same spot. We have here Coach Manoj, who just made it all happen in 1 year. Of course, he's a consummate runner, so that definitely would have helped him from a base strength standpoint. Then we have, Sudeep, who is taken his time in the triathlon world, slowly and steadily building his expertise over a good 8-year period to get to the pinnacle. And then we have Manoj here, who was not only a forget about the triathlon, not even a runner, nothing. And 2021, first time starts off with the pinnacle of running, which is full marathon. And then within very soon, he goes into the pinnacle of triathlon, which is Ironman. That is also a journey in 2-3 years' time. So I think the point here is anything is possible. There is no one way to do it. The one thing that though common across all three of them is they had a vision, they had a goal, and they were ready to put the hard work, not just once or 2 days or 3 days, but for an extended period of time. And that's what we will talk about in the next section, which is the journey that they took to this particular Ironman. So this time, let's start with you, Sudeep. Reflect on your last, first of all, how long is this training period? Is it 3 months, 5 months? What is it?
It's a solid, I would say, of 5 to 6 months of training period.
6 months of training for this event, Ironman event. And, I'm a running coach. So for us, it's 16 weeks is a good, is what is a training period block, which is 4 months for a full marathon. And you're talking about 6 months, which it seems good, but that too, it's an Ironman, but I can imagine this will be absolutely intense. So talk a little bit and reflect on the 6 months that you spent. How did it start, and what are some of the highs and what are some of the lows in your training journey?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say there are 2 or 3 things that are very important, right? So, I mean, our lives are busy, so we can fit 2 or 3 things. So the first thing is, obviously there is that whole relationship. Sajith, Tej, Manoj, all of us had signed up for it. So the community is built. But you can do 2 or 3 things. So obviously you have work, which is work pressures, which is there, right? So that's always there. Then you have family, which you have the family commitments that you have to take care of it. Then you have the social commitments. And then if you add the Ironman training to it, you can't do all four. So the first thing that I had to do is, okay, I'm going to do an Ironman. I know we have signed up with Tej, Sajith, Manoj. We know we are all in the boat. I have to cut out one thing. What is the one thing that I can cut out? Which is the social commitments. So
Wow.
all my Saturday, Sunday parties, the Friday evenings parties is all gone. So that is the first thing that you commit to. The second thing is, you need your family to support you, right? So it's a very critical piece of it. We overlook it a lot.
Yeah.
But if my wife had not told me that, okay, I'm gonna support you, or my kids said, okay, we will give you the time, you won't be able to do it, right? So that family support I had to make sure that's backing me up totally. Some people are lucky, some people we have to definitely do that. And then the work you have to kind of juggle around to make sure. My work involves quite a lot of travel. I have to make sure I kind of signed it off that I will reduce my travel to do the training. So there is this whole base building block that goes in before even a training goes, that results in your training to start. But one of those factors, one of those stools falling down, you will possibly not be able to stand on the stool. And the most important thing I would say is the community, right? Having Tej, Sajith, Manoj there as a group to motivate each other. And there are tons of videos we have taken of each other with different things we will never make to the outside world ever, is the most important. The community was there. So
Yeah.
having those three, all of them coming together was the start of it. So I would say that that's the start of the training journey for me. I can go into more details, but
Yeah,
does
no,
that make sense?
you touched on a beautiful facet here, audience. You should make sure it's a good learning here. Now, we always talk in our running parlance as well, is the first step is to make a committed decision. That itself requires bravery, and most of you are listening have done that. That's great. But now you have to follow up with execution, and always execution comes with some sacrifices. You can't do everything same in life and then suddenly expect something amazing. Nothing. You have to give, and there's always a give and take. And what a beautiful example he gave, that Ironman requires a lot of commitment, while 6 months is a short period in the largest scope of life. But 6 months is a long period if you have to cut out social, like weekend parties and evening drinks, and that we normally enjoy, like to have. You can't do it, but next day morning you have a long training schedule ahead of you. So you have to make a commitment. There's a sacrifice element to this. And I think, thank you for bringing that out. It's an important element. If you want to do something great, some sacrifices need to happen. Otherwise, you can't be doing great things. So that's a beautiful lesson that you brought out. Sajith, what do you, when you reflect your training journey, first throw some light on, like in a full marathon training, we know, right? A peak mesocycle is when you do like a regular runners, not like I'm talking about a regular full marathoner would do a 40-mile run. That if somebody asks me what is the time commitment, I can say about 1.5 hours a day in the weekdays, and maybe 3 hours on the weekend. So you're looking at 10, 12 hours is the peak meso week uh, training commitment. How does a peak meso equivalent of an Ironman look like a week?
That week or last 2 weeks is something that you really don't want to even imagine that you're done, right? Because I feel the race is less painful. The training is what is the most painful of the whole process, right? As Sudeep mentioned, the time commitment is probably like I spent close to 300 hours this whole year for this training. It's just not the 300 hours. The fatigue that builds over this 300 hours of training is exponential. It's more than 2x. So you just finish the training, come home, you think you can spend time with family. No, you're zonked off. You're like 2 hours of swimming, probably then you have another 2 hours of running in the evening. It's usually
No,
two
walk
sports
me
a
through.
day.
Walk me through, Sajid.
Yeah.
Tell me a week of peak mesocycle.
Yeah. So coming to that, the usual weekday starts off. You will have a starts. I have a rest day on Monday, so I start off on a Tuesday. Where on a peak meso cycle, I'll have probably like a 10 mile run on a Tuesday. Followed by the next day would be a swim and a bike. So swimming would be around 2 hours of swimming, followed by a 2 hour of biking on a Wednesday, and then
Wait. Back to back 4 hours you have to spend, like what? You get up in the morning at
the
4
swim is more of a recovery. You ran the previous day, so the swim gives you more recovery on the next day in the morning. So that's not like as pounding as a run goes, right? So that's how it's planned. So you do a run a day, and you can follow up with the swim the next day morning,
Okay.
right? So you recover. Then you give it some gap till you go onto the bike, at least two, eating sessions in between and carb load yourself, so you get enough energy for your evening bike ride. So the evening bike ride would be again 1.5 to 2 hours. It's all structured workouts. It's not like the hours or mile specific. The coach would structure a workout for you based on your intensity and levels. So that's around the next Wednesday. I would say that's how we go about. Then again, Thursday leads to probably a run, a bike ride first place, followed by a run. It's called a brick workout. So you ride for 2 hours, and immediately you would change your shoes to a run shoes and go out for a run or a treadmill. We would be, probably doing 2 hours plus another 1 hour of running, like to just give you that kind of structure your body to come out of a bike and start running. Because if you don't train your legs to do that, you'll struggle on the race day, right? So we do that kind of a brick workout. And then again, Friday comes, you get into a longer swim session. Probably that's a 3 hour, 2.5 hour swim session. And you may have a bike ride in the evening. And then comes the peak on the weekends, right? Where on the peak cycle, I think my Saturday had a 120-mile bike ride, and followed by a 1 hour run, right? So
Same day.
yes, same time. I finished the ride, 120 miles, put my bike on my car, wear my running shoes. All of us were there. Me, Manoj were running. We put the bike, put our shoes, and then we start running. So that's again to train the peak load. We are already on the peak mesocycle. So imagine the fatigue, cumulative fatigue we've already accumulated, and then they make you do this. So that's almost related to the end of the race day, right? So they take you through that. So now you're done with your 120 mile of bikes. And this is just not flat bike. When I say 120 miles, it also has like 6,000, 7,000 feet of elevation. We ride the hills also, right? And then we run and then rest the whole day. Next day morning, we get up and that's like a 22-mile run for you, waiting for you. So that's simple when you...
And this peak meso cycle this week is 1 week, or how many weeks like this in the peak meso? 3 weeks?
It is almost like a 3 to 4 week cycle that goes like that. The average, like say we have done average, each of us would have done 300-mile bike rides over these things and 3 or 20-mile runs over these 3 weeks, it's something like that. And the whole week, again, going to Manoj's numbers are 2x, but that's our typical training structure during those weeks.
Got it. So audience, if I summarize that, right, if you think about it, a couple of good points why I want to stress on peak is, rest all you can imagine, it'll be a portion of that. There's always a combination. You have to do like a rotation of these 3 workouts. That's one. And the second thing Sajith was talking about is you want to train after your body gets exhausted. Like that is when the accumulated stress of all this builds. And then you enter the weekend where you are doing the maximum stuff. Now, why? Of course, that is what is needed in IronMan. When you're doing it, that is when you're exhausted and you have to still perform. But there is one beautiful learning here, that see how much your body is actually capable of. Think about this. None of these 3 are athletes. Let me again remind you. Just 5 or 7 years, rewind their life, maybe 10 years max. 0. In fact, they might be drinking, partying, like if Sudeep said that I've sacrificed my social life on the weekends, I can tell you 10 years ago, it was like the other end of the spectrum, where that's all he was having. So my point is, all of these folks were not gifted with some kind of a Greek god athletic body or something. They just trained their body to do these things. That means body is capable. It is just the mind that needs to be trained. And the entire long distance training, the triathlon training, is all about training of the mind as well, so that the body can listen to what the mind is doing. So that's what we are hearing here. And Coach Manoj, I'm sure you would agree with what I just now said, but you are known for taking on, pushing the mind to its limits. That's what you're known for. Like you can do 3,000 miles a year, not just 1 year, you do it for multiple years. You like it, right? But so even with that, when you look at your training journey, what are some of the hardest parts of your training journey, even for you?
So these aspects, like for example, I had to go to India for 10, 12 days. You cannot train. So your training rhythm gets, bust over there. And when you come back, you're actually starting from scratch at that point, right? That was one aspect. The other aspect was there were at least 2 or 3 lows, right? And I'll tell you about the lows a little bit, because it happens. I went into open water a couple of times. I got into this shock which you talked about, and I was like, how the hell am I going to do 4,000 yards, right? It happened to me at least 2 times, and I used to be like very finicky about it. we also went like a month ago to the Lake Placid camp, where we did one loop of the Lake Placid elevation. Right after the elevation was done, I was like, how am I going to do the second loop? And every time I used to go out, obviously, Sajith and Sudeep and Tej, they used to organize these long rides. I used to go get on my tri bike. My neck used to hurt.
Yeah.
And after the 50 miles, the last 50, 60 miles used to be like terrible for me. So I was playing around. Should I be taking a road bike, tri bike? I was not comfortable at all. What helped me was the determination that, okay, I can do it, and not giving up at any time, and trusting my training, meaning I'm spending the hours, right? I used to remind myself I'm doing anywhere from say 16 hours to 24 hours every week, and this is what I've been doing since January. I have to trust my training, and I think I'll be there, right? So there were quite a bit of lows, but I think the training is what really helped me to get out of it. And mentally, when you keep on training, you start believing that you can do it,
Yes, the
right?
belief builds up, and
Build,
the more it throws at you, the more you're mentally getting stronger. So the yesterday's problem seems much smaller than the one that you're going to face next tomorrow, and it keeps going. I can see that. I mean, amazing story. I can talk hours on just your training journey, but let us
right.
move on to the day, which is the actual Ironman experience. So, folks. I mean, Ironman is this organization, I think, which runs this Ironman races, and they offer in various places. I know Hawaii and various beautiful places. And Lake Placid, if I'm not mistaken, is one of those marquee Ironman. It's like equivalent of a New York City marathon. Is that fair to say?
It is an iconic Ironman.
Yeah, it's icon
It's
and
yeah,
it's
it is.
tough.
Yeah,
It is tough
it's
as
tough.
it is very because
Yeah,
of the elevations and such. What's the like? It's a pretty big elevation gain that you need to have in bike and
it
run
is. It is 7,500 elevation gain for your bike, and you have
7,500
1,000
feet.
feet of 7,500 feet, and 1,000 feet. During your run, and it's relentless. It
Of
keeps on
course.
coming. It keeps on coming. Yeah,
7,500 feet is 1.5 times Mount Washington. Mount Washington. 5,000 feet is the
yeah.
highest around that, right? In that is massive elevation gain. And this is in bike. After that, they have to do a full marathon while after completing 2 miles of run, swimming in Lake Placid. So audience, let me throw you a small video clip of what does this look like, and maybe a Sajith or a Sudeep, when it is playing, you can just offer some commentary of what it is, if it makes sense. So let me share my screen, and let's watch this. What does this Lake Placid Ironman look like? So you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm
Yes, yes,
playing
you can
this.
see
It's
it.
just a 2-minute video, but it just tells us what this Ironman is all about, that these gentlemen just completed.
The course goes fast. Probably we can pause and talk about a bit
Yes,
as we
please.
start that.
You tell me. You tell
Yes.
me.
Oh yeah, this is right going into the Mirror Lake, one of the most beautiful lakes. The area is called Lake Placid, as you know, right? It's very famous for the Winter Olympics. It's already started, but you may want to just pause that to just show them. So Mirror Lake is one of the cleanest lakes we've ever swam. Actually, all of us swim in multiple open water lakes, but this, you can literally see the bottom. There is a line at the bottom of the lake where you see this red line going the course. There is a line which you can follow. None of the other courses have this kind of clear water where you could see this. So as this line shows, this is the first loop. You can start playing that. So this is the first loop of the swim course over Mirror Lake in Lake Placid. There comes the name. Yeah. So then we enter again, and then we got to go on to the second loop to complete the 4,200 plus yards for the first swim, which is around 2.4 miles. So this is the first leg
So
of the journey.
this is as open as it can get. So let's say I am in the middle of it and I suddenly have a panic attack and I can't run. What happens? Like I mean, is
That's what I was into. I have, even though swim is me in my worst category of the event, like I was not a good swimmer, right? But I was so confident in this swim because I've swam in the Mirror Lake. I went there 1 month before to train myself. It's the best water you can ever find. So even the training, I told Sudeep and Manoj, hey, I'm not coming. I'm so confident in this water. On the race day, I enter this water, 100 meters in, panic strikes because there was so many professional, and it's a two loop, right? The second loop, you're hitting the professional churning the water and going ahead as we enter. So this creates a ripple kind of waves, and it comes and hits your face as you breathe, and panic strikes. And I had to literally hold on to a kayak, and my legs get cramped because the heart rate goes up. And I'm thinking, shit, what did I get into? I'll die if I can't swim anymore. My legs are just thinking, it all happens.
Wow.
It's it
Yeah,
is like
I mean,
that.
I want to add to it because I mean, I would say that, I'm more comfortable with the swim. I was not a good swimmer, and, Sajith and I have gone to Lake Medford so many times. And I remember, him be having the panic attacks and with John Chaniara and things like that. I felt that I was confident, but it was so choppy with all of that I've never ever swum what is called backstroke. And I had to literally turn over and do a backstroke of 500 yards just to save myself from the constant hitting that was happening.
Because
it
the water
was
churning coming up from other people's wake, basically.
Correct. And I just want to just go back on the journey because my first half Ironman, Lake Muscleman, I was a DNF because of the swim. I swam close to 1,600 yards and I had to DNF because I would not make the cutoff because of the chop. And it just reflected back, man, I cannot be a DNF again because of the swim. So it was like that mental fortitude that comes into you and say, no matter what happens, hook or crook, I'm going to complete this course. I'm going to do it 2 times. So not to take anything away from Sajith, but it was really, really choppy for the first 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Sajith, back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, and what's the temperature of the water? At least summer, so must be okay, right?
Yeah, the weather was perfect. Lucky we were like, actually, Lake Placid has a good weather compared to here. So usually 10 degrees less. So the water temperature was around 74, something like that. Perfect for swimming. And plus we have wetsuits, so it takes care of the chillness.
Got it. Okay, let's keep going. So that happens, and then you get out of the water. Keep going, Sajith.
So you do the second loop, you come out of the water and go to the transition. That's the red box there. So you go there. So you have wetsuits on, right? So they take the volunteers help you take out the wetsuits because it's really tight. And then you take the wetsuit and run to the transition 1, which is shown there in the red box. And that's where you have your bike gears. So you go there, put your wetsuit in your bike bag, put your helmets, put your bike shoes on. Some people want to change of clothes, but you always have a tri-suit inside, something called a triathlon suit, which is like your bike gear, what you see on the roads, but this dries out much faster than a bike gear. So you literally don't have to change it. Your pads, everything dries up. So you just wear the wetsuit, just wear what you need and take your nutrition if you need for the bike course, whatever you need, put it in your back pocket, or if it's already in your bike, perfect. And then head to your bike. That's where the bike start location comes in. And then its first loop is around close to 55, 60 miles on the first loop. Again, you got to repeat that twice as the icon is showing. This looks easy on the graphics as it shows, but it is just hills. Lake Placid is all in that white mountain. It's just surrounded by hills. It's beautiful, one of the most beautiful courses, but it's as grinding as you see it. 7,500 feet of elevation. Each loop is close to like 3,600 plus. It is grinding. It's one of the toughest bike courses, I would say, we've done.
Yeah, there are some iconic times here, right? In the hills he talks about, right? There is one loop called the J loop, which they added just for pleasure, and the pleasure was add 1,000 feet, 1,100 feet of elevation. So that thing that you see that going out and coming out, that's probably some part of the J loop. It used to be 6,000. They just added 1,100 more to make sure that Sajith, Manoj, and Sudeep struggle with a little bit more. That was the objective of Ironman. And then the fun thing is, we do the tough part initially and downs, it's mostly downhill at the end, things like that. What they do is they throw hills right at the very end. And the 3 hills they call, and we joke about it, is called Mama Bear, Baby Bear, Papa Bear, and Grandpa Bear at the very end. So that comes right at when you have gone through and you have gone at the final thing, you are just churning and churning and churning. And at the end, when you want some respite, you're getting these bears, and people have these big posters saying, hey, these are the bears, go for it, go for it. And you're just dead. And just imagine hitting that again at 110 miles or 100 miles more. it is a constant churn of the bike. It is so grinding that your legs hurt, everything hurt. You have eating on the bike, trying to do everything on the bike. And the funny thing is, they have volunteers there, so you're grabbing water on the way, and you're grabbing like a banana on the way or anything like that, and you eat it and throw it right while you're riding the bike. So you're not even getting off the bike, you're doing everything on the bike. So it's a fun way. What do you suggest? Back to you.
Yes. So yeah, then it comes to transition two, and we again change from bike shoes to run shoes. That's the only change you usually make there. Throw your helmets out, put your bikes back in, and start running a marathon after that, right? So that starts your fun part for most people, like who are not runners like Manoj. That's where our torture starts. Once our leg hits the floor, and this is also grinding. This has got 1,000 feet of elevation, almost close to New York City kind of a marathon experience is what you get here. But fantastic crowds, even though this is a grinding journey, you have all the cheering and everything, like in a marathon, you get everything towards the end. Perfect. Like you have Ironmans and then you have Ironman Lake Placid, right? Ironman Lake Placid is like a BAP of most of these, because usually your 112 miles of biking would have like 2,500 feet of elevation. When it's 7,500 feet, your quads are busted for the run. And then you have 1,000 feet, like Ironman Maryland or something would have like probably 200 feet of elevation, for example. So on comparison, this is one of the toughest Ironmans, I think, after Kona is what we feel.
Incredible. Incredible. Seriously, even when I look at the course, it gives me exhaustion by just looking at it. And you guys nicely talked about your little experiences as well. So, Manoj, how would you summarize your day, man? Ironman day. I think you were I think among the three, you were the first one to complete the course as well. So, what was your? How would you summarize the day? Like any high and low points?
No, I think basically I started very easy, very slow, got into the Mirror Lake. I stood there for a couple of minutes, just prayed that, okay, Mirror Lake, please allow me to go through you twice. And it allowed me to go through easily, and comfortably finished it. Went on to the bike journey, did the biking, kept on eating. Meaning, when I say eating, fueling,
Yeah.
it's more like electrolytes, just went through the strategy, whatever I agreed to, whatever I thought about. And it's all because, experiences from Tej really helped, because he told us, what to do, what not to do. So those experiences really came handy, and he really, provided us with a lot of guidance over the last few months right now, right? And I think the hydration, fueling, which I went through was really good, because I did not suffer any issues or any cramps. I'm a bit slower on the bike, so I just went on, finished it off. And after that, I went to the run section. That's where I got a little bit of an anxiety attack. My run bag was misplaced. I did send an email out to the Ironman Foundation. Like they've opened up a ticket, but let's see what happens there. But my run bag was missing. That means no running shoe, and I'm not used to barefoot running like Sajith or Sudeep. So I was like thinking what to do right now. So I was talking to the volunteers, wanted some more help, and after a little bit of anxiety and stress, and maybe a little bit of yelling, that's when I got more volunteers look for my bag. And after 8-10 minutes, they came in, found my bag, which was misplaced somewhere else altogether. Like out of the 2,500 bags, they were able to get me a bag, and then, took the bag, changed, and then started running. Run was very good. I've never drank Coke in my life, right, that much. But during the course, after mile 15, I was on Coke, right? And I did not stop on any hills. I was just running all the hills. So it was fantastic. The way they administered everything, every mile to 2 miles, they had like an aid station, a lot of ice. I put so much of ice in my t-shirt. I've never done that in my life, actually. So that is what kept me going, and was able to finish it very strong. Like had no cramps or anything like that. I was actually thinking, how will I run? But I think the training journey, which we all invested the 6 months, really helped, and was able to push through and get it done. Right.
Incredible. See, the more you guys speak, right, as one theme is very clear. Journey to the start line is training. The buzzword is training, commitment, sacrifice, those things that we talked about. And the buzzword for the day, on the day, is problem solving. the mindset of problem solving, because nothing is going to go as per your plan just because you train for 6 months. Something has to
Exactly.
come up. You got to be in a
Yeah.
problem solving mindset. Like Manoj, you gave a beautiful example there. And then John, you gave one example there around the swimming side where you just went backward and did that. That was problem solving. And Sajith, you gave one example where you thought, man, the whole thing is going to come crashing down right now. And you had to hunker down and problem solve. I think that's a very common theme I'm already beginning to realize. So, Sudeep, how would you summarize the Ironman day?
Yeah, so for me, it was a roller coaster. It is not as steady. I think as my life, it's been a roller coaster. I knew, so I have something called a GI issue, distress, where if at some point of time, and I've been experimenting with a lot of things where some point of time I start throwing up. This has happened with me and man, this has happened with me in marathons where I throw up. And I've been experimenting with a lot of things. So I knew that was going to happen at some point of time, and my body is going to start shutting down. So the key thing that my coach said is you got to take it really easy on the swim and the bike, because more than problem solving, you got to predict what you got to visualize how the race is going to unfold, and you got to visualize and prepare for that parts of the races. And then during some of the things, what can go wrong in that thing, and you got to prepare for it. So in my thing was, what can go wrong is if I push too hard on the swim and the bike, I will struggle on the run. If I push too hard on the nutrition, if I don't do a proper nutrition, I'll struggle on the run. So carbs, this much carbs I had to do. It was a full blown Excel sheet. The swim was terrible, but I like the second loop I really crushed it as much as I can, because I knew I had to kind of get to it. Second loop I just pushed through and got out on time and things like that. When I got out, I saw Manoj's bike. We were all three racked together. When we raced together, we racked together. So we saw Manoj's bike is gone, but Sajith's bike is still there. So I was kind of worried for him and saying, is he going to be okay? But I said, okay, I've got 25 minutes. So I'm hoping that he'll be okay. So I thought Manoj is fine. So he's out. So I said, okay, let me start biking. And the bike, we had trained on it. So I knew I had to pull back really bad, really bad. So I had transitioned, I had gels. I know I had to recover, keep my legs fresh. I had to do that. So bike was okay. I knew I had the energy to come in. So I was fueling according to the way I had trained in the fuel, things like that. And towards the end, I started running, and I said, I've got to take it really easy on the run. There is a downhill that comes right up front. They said, you have to go slow on the downhill. So whatever my pace is, suppose it's a 9-minute pace, I was running at 12-minute pace, and I said, okay, I've got enough time for the run. My coach was there, thankfully. She was telling me, you got 6 hours, 20 minutes. You go 15 minutes, you'll still be doing it, things like that. So I said, okay, I'll stick to the lower end. And if I'm able to push myself after mile 13, I'll push it. I know I had lost time in the transition, but I was taking that time as a recovery for my body, because I took more time in the transitions, and that's something which we always talk about, because I need to recover my body. So mile 10, the thing started, which is I started vomiting. And once I start vomiting, I couldn't take the gel anymore. Once I start vomiting, everything in my stomach just comes out totally. So I'm totally depleted of carbs. And you are there. So this is where you go into what is called the hurt locker. I know it is going to hurt. I know it's there, and I've prepared for it. And I've told them beforehand, this is probably going to happen, but I prepared for it. So I pushed through mentally really tough. And so it was a mental torture. There is a part of it called the river road, which is where it is so dead and it's so dark that it kind of makes you really slow. So that's where was my lowest part during the day, where I said, can I finish it or not finish it? Things like that. And thankfully, that time I had taken my phone with me. And none of these, maybe these people had not taken their phone. I had taken my phone with me. I'd done it as a way, okay, if there is something really bad, I'll listen to music. So thankfully, at that time, my wife called me up and said, what is happening? Are you okay? And I said, I don't know whether I can finish it. I'm not able to digest any gels. I'm throwing up water and throwing up Gatorade. And every 3 months, I'm just in the process. So I don't know whether I can finish it. So she said, your coach said you can do it. You've got time. You got to push yourself. And so this is where I think I really dug deep, went into my shell and said, I will walk it. I will do anything, but I will try to finish it. And that's where I kind of pushed myself. I walked, ran, jog, ran. When I could not run, I did not crawl, but I did all of that. So my running was where I went through the lowest part of my thing. I had predicted it, but it was far more lower. And my wife walked with me for some time, pushed me a little bit. My coach came and screamed into my face, said, you have to do it. You can do it. And then I kind of pushed myself, kept that 14-minute pace, which is never a pace I ran at ever, but finished it in 16:40. Not my best, but hey, I'm an Ironman, so I'll take it.
Bala,
Yeah,
you're on
mute.
mute.
We can hear you.
I'm sorry. So I'm saying, of course, we are talking of doing a full marathon after 12 hours of already at it. It's like some cardio event or no. Oh my God, I can't even begin to express the awe that I have in hearing your story. Well done. Sajith, what is the summary of your day, man? I know you had that panic attack start. Looks like you got over it, and then what happened?
No, actually, my race ended in 200 yards. That's where it stops. I'm thinking like my heart rate is shot already at 160, 170. I can't even see. I'm like already panicked. I'm shivering in the water. The rescue boat is coming. I'm almost thinking, guys, take me out of this water. I'm done. Then the other side, man, you spent 6 months doing this shit without family and all these commitments that you've taken out of your life. You better well try. I said, let me just give it one more shot. I try again. Again, heart rate shoots up. Lucky I call the angel on the blue kayak. So there was this lady on this kayak which I was holding to. She told, son, you gotta relax now. Get your heart rate low. Don't start. She made me there for at least 4 or 5 minutes, made my heart rate go down. She told, start now, I'll keep watching. That's how I start the race. I come on the first loop, I look at my watch, it's 1 hour 20 minutes. I'm like, shit, the cutoff is 2 hour 20. That means I have to do the next loop within an hour. I'm getting into the water, nobody's there. Like, where did all these guys go? Then I my legs are cramped already with this fear. So I don't have legs. I just have my hands to swim. I'm like trying to get that 1 hour done. I come back. People stop me in the water, checking if I'm okay. I said, I need to finish this swim. They said, no, we want to check you and all. So they check me. It's 2:20. I get there. My timing mat goes to, I said, am I DNF? They said, no, we stopped you. You still keep going. That's for later. So that's okay. Shit. I am the last guy out of the water, which I never expected. Imagine I'm swimming alone in Mirror Lake. I got the line to myself as it was on my private pool. Everybody's finished the race. And I'm the last guy. And I thought, okay, everybody's gone for the day. No, nothing to be ashamed of, just walk out. And I wake up to see 500 people cheering me. The entire kayaks were following me with the volunteers. 500 people were cheering me out that I'm the last athlete on the course now. Okay, everybody behind me, probably some who are behind me is DNF'd already. They pull them out of the water. So now I start and I go to the transition. Only my bike is there, and I take it in 20 miles of the bike ride. There's nobody on the road. I'm all alone myself in this beautiful racetrack. And I have a super fancy bike and a helmet. People looking at me thought I'm a pro coming in my second loop. They're cheering me. 50 more miles to go. Come on, do it. I'm like, shit, I have 112 miles to go. I just started. So I was getting all the cheering like a pro because I had to crush the bike. There's no other way, right? And I have to stick to the watch because we have a run to go. It's not like you can just zoom past. Yeah. So I have to stick to the watch and get my speed. So what I did was I saw a thing that I have to crush this, got into as aero as possible, cut through the wind as much. 10th mile, the pros start coming next to me. That is when that feeling comes, right? They are crushing. They're just going like, as if nothing is there. They have motorbikes and I'm on a bicycle, right? That pumped me up. I said, I need to go and catch these guys. So anyway, you can't catch them, but one after the other passed me. That kept me motivated. And somehow the bike, as usual, that's my strongest part of the whole system. But I was able to really get through the bike with the same wattage that I wanted to do. Got through. I crossed most of them I can through the bike, and then got onto the run, which is going to be my toughest mentally. But because I already struggled on the swim, somehow the body is already taken the beating. I had a cramps on my leg. I said, this is going to cramp my run. Thank God I did a walk run system. Wherever the hills come, I walk, flats I run. I did that, and touch wood, nothing, no cramps, no issues. I finished the race happily, no issues after the race. So all my problems were in the first 10 minutes of the race, where I decided to just come out and then complete the whole Ironman. That's something like I would never forget. You know, that decision that you take at that point of time, how your mental and your body adapts with fully frozen legs and cramped legs, and you do the rest of the thing. The body definitely takes, the training really pays for what you do.
What a fascinating three set of stories, such divergent stories. Someone on Manoj's side who is sort of on top of it on most of the places. Yes, he had his lows, but he was not in the panic stage. To Sudeep, who had this medical issue that he had to deal with at the toughest part in the marathon, on the end of the marathon, Ironman, and then you with a panic attack right at the beginning. It's like three separate stories that a movie can be created, but the end result is the same. I know
Three
that.
idiots.
But before we bring this absolutely mind-boggling discussion to its natural end, let's talk a little bit about your families, because I saw those pictures. They're truly giving there, being there, cheering for you, those pictures which we'll share shortly. But I wanted to hear from you, because you guys told me that this is not a singular thing. This has to be, while it is called Iron Man, I think the more apt word is Iron Family or something. That's the right, in my mind, apt. So why don't we talk a little bit, start with you, Manoj, a little bit about the support you got on the day as well as before.
So before, obviously, Ritu was always very supportive, right? I can tell you that for the last, I would say, at least 10 to 15 times, I haven't really eaten Saturday lunch or Sunday lunch at home, right? So obviously, she used to be supportive, and I used to come home. She used to give me, food and everything, and dietary. That is very important. But that said, during the race day, she was there. I think if I was doing the race for the whole day, she was on her legs, running around, trying to find where I am. And I think every time I saw it, actually did energize me as well. And then on top of it, especially when you're done with, during the bike, you don't see them that much. You only see them once. And after that, you're done. And after you're done during the run, I saw them so many times. Every time I saw the family. And actually, in fact, one of our RHWB BQ runners, Suraj, was also there. So every time they were there, it was cheering me, and I was making sure I was running during that time. And it kept on motivating me through and through. And that really helped, because, having support from the family is very, very important and critical, right? It really helped me or juiced me for the, full marathon, I can tell you that, right? It was very nice to see them as well.
Yep. And Sudeep, please go ahead. As you're speaking, I'm just showing some clips, to bring it to life. But please go ahead.
Yeah. So the family commitment was definitely there, from the nutrition aspect of it, making sure what is there. I remember, asking for all the shakes and everything that has to be done during and during the time that was built. But it was not just that. My son needed his help. He would be cognizant of the fact that I'm on a long bike ride. He can't talk to me for some time. My kids, didn't see me for 8 hours during that time, when I was training with, all of these three, and they would say, you probably are living on the bike and on the run. You guys are not home at all. So that was the thing, journey during the training.
Yep.
On the day, I think, all three wives, were together. They had a T-shirt, which was, a big surprise. They had a poster showing, when you get out of the swim, you see that and you say, "Hey, life is good. We can do it."
Yeah.
And as I mentioned during the run, it was, I think, that phone call from my wife. It's saying, you got to do it. Coach is there, all of them there, but we are all on an individual journey during that time. Our friends, each of them are doing their own thing. So that phone call, pushed me a lot, and I said, okay, hey, I've got to do this. So it was incredible support from Shireen. It was a lot of support from the family, because without family, you just can't do this. You need that support. So absolutely.
Absolutely. And Sajith, your thoughts for your family?
Yes, as you know, Bala, I'm always a family first guy. So, so, so yeah, family. See, I have the. I think all three of us have the luck that our wives, like for me, in my case, Swasni, she takes care of most things at home. So one thing of a successful triathlon, if you're getting into kinds like Ironman, you need to make sure that one of the spouses is available to take care of rest of the things. Otherwise, guys, this is not easy, right? So in my case, she took, I don't know where the kids, which school, what class they're studying in also. So she takes care of all that. My food is on the table. So I haven't looked at all that. So that part aside, I had to only focus on training. So those areas we've not, like after the race, that's when I spent time with the kids and like realizing that these guys have also grown over like 6 months of the time, right? So yeah, we've spent some time in Tokyo and all, Bala, with marathon and all, but other than that, most of the time training, we've like totally dispatched our, dislodged ourselves with the fatigue. We really don't focus on family. We don't know, but it's really takes some toll on the family side of it, right? And social and other things also. But yeah, family plays a big role. I would say you definitely need their support. Otherwise, this is not possible. You will get kicked out very soon. And on the race day, yes, I have. My thing is, I try to organize everything myself. I try to keep everything, or I don't depend too much. So I didn't give too much of work to Sasni to come and do things for me. But then they were there throughout the race, cheering us. Manoj's wife was there, Sudeep's wife was there. There throughout the race, they were there to help us and get through the whole thing. The main thing was backup in case you scramble in the last. You need someone to pick you up and drop you back. So all that played a role. I think that was there. That all the three were there to cheer us up, along with some friends of ours.
Absolutely. A special shout out on behalf of all of RHWB to the Iron Women behind these Iron Mans, Shireen, John, Suhasini, Sajith, and Ritu, Manoj, Ostawal. We saw the sheer joy and pride that you all had during that day in sharing those messages, uh, being there for your husbands, but being there for all of us. Because what your husbands did that day, it will inspire, I don't know how many folks to do this. Like how Tej and Atul did inspired the three here. This three will inspire so many. And Shireen, Ritu, and Suhasini, you should take equal, if not more, um, should I say, credit for inspiring a whole lot of folks in this kind of an activity where it sets a benchmark for all of us that ordinary, normal, non-athletes can suddenly pick up this thing and become an Ironman around 40 plus age group, starting the journey around that age group and then keep doing it. I mean, this is a very special thing, folks. The three of you should realize that you guys are, yes, you achieved something great for yourself. But what is even more great that you should be even more proud that you have set amazing benchmarks for a large community that, hey, we can also do. I've never run in my life. I was also only an academic all my life. And then suddenly I see you, and then, yeah, maybe if not Ironman, maybe I can do a full marathon to start with. That is something else. That is the contribution, the real contribution of what you guys have done. So before we go to the last question, which is some learnings and some tips that you can give to others, I want to actually share the moment that your lovely wives captured in the video and that shared with all of us and made breaking news in our friend community, where when you crossed the finish line of this incredible story of 6 months, or maybe I would say 6 years or 8 years for you, John, and just a year for you, the journey. But let's enjoy that moment when you crossed this historic Ironman finish line. So let me share the screen there and I have it handy. So you have, let me see if I can enlarge the screen first. Let's see if I can. Yeah, maybe this will be better. Yeah. That is Manoj running as if he's just running a 5K weekend workout. Manoj, you are an Ironman. That's crazy, good after. Let's give a warm round of applause for our Ironman Manoj. You are an Ironman indeed. And then this one is, I think this is Sajith.
No, that's still Manoj. That's still Manoj.
Who is this?
That's Manoj.
Me.
Oh, this is Manoj again, a different thing. Okay. And then who is this now?
Sajith now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, Sajith, your form is looking great, man.
Easy stuff, you know.
Amazing. Oh, man, you were able to jump to it. Congratulations there. And then, of course, the three ladies. Let's get our where is Sudeep? This is Manoj.
That's me, yeah.
Two Manoj, is it? Sajith.
Yeah.
And where is wait, I thought Sajith Sudeep was also there. Let's just look at the real quick. I want to see that too. So you guys can figure out this is let's see which one is
Be a darker version. Yeah, one of them at the last. Yeah, should be one of those three.
this one.
That's what we saw right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm missing it out. Or
Pick
if
the last one, the 0.25, the last one. Yeah, what's that?
this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Sudeep.
There you go. Look at you,
Yes.
Sudeep. All the GI track issues, man. 16 hours of 36 minutes of. Come on, man.
Look at Sudeep has all this.
Yeah, I got the
finish.
flashlights and everything at the end, right? So none of them
And
had that.
And the person, Mike, really, he congratulated you there, right? You got Mike right there.
Correct.
So,
Mike really came and slagged me and said, "Go finish it quickly. I've got to go home."
So, Bala, Mike really, he's the most famous guy who started announcing that you are an Ironman at the end of the event, right? So he was the guy who was shaking hands with Sudeep as he was finishing.
Amazing.
Correct.
He
Congratulations.
retired and he came back knowing that Sudeep is racing today, and he came back. He was in retirement.
Congratulations, Iron Men in front of us. Iron Man Sudeep, Iron Man Coach Manoj, and Iron Man Sajith. What a phenomenal achievement on behalf of all of us, not just Runners Eye community, but your friends, as on behalf of friends. Thanks for inspiring us, man. I'm inspired. I don't have the guts to go into Ironman category because of the swimming and panic attack situation. Maybe at least a sprint triathlon I can try next year.
We'll take you. We have the community take you for the sprint. Just
Exactly.
sign up for Mercer sprint next year.
Something like that. Well, I'm thinking because just getting inspired by the three of you. So let's bring this home. Let's start with you, Sajith. One or two words of advice for anyone that what you have learned and what you want to offer. That could be life, could be triathlon, could be running, could be anything, but it's your time to share a few thoughts.
I triathlon being three disciplines of sport has put a lot of structure, at least in my life. It's just not thinking one thing always, multiple thing coming to the race line with three different sports. You have so many gears in the whole thing, right? Even if something goes wrong one place, you think about the back. What do you do if this goes wrong? So much of process goes into the whole ecosystem of this race that's what keeps me really motivated to do this again. That keeps it comes in different aspects of life, in decision making, at home or at work, how you think if something goes wrong, how relaxed you are if something happens. I feel this has really changed my life and my health over the last 2 years being with this whole community. And it's also one thing I realized is I always make sure my kids also watch doing this, because they didn't even know what these 5K or 10K was. They're now part of RSWB running. My little one, who even was like 6-7 years old, he wanted to start doing triathlons when he saw me doing the first Olympic. My elder one wants to start doing his triathlon. So they're already thinking triathlons, just not a marathon, right? My elder one did his half marathon last time with Bala, even without getting coached and trained. He just started doing, and now he's like he wants to do a triathlon. Like, so I feel if I can inspire two people, it's I've done my justice, right? If I can do more, everything. So I'm always available if any RSW, any runner, biker who's not even used to swimming, if you guys want to get through that realm, if you want to try triathlons, reach out to any of us. We've done this, been there, ready to spend any time to get you guys there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Pay it forward. Pay it forward. Coach Manoj, few words.
Yeah, I think for me, I think what I can summarize, I want to be quick as well, is consistency. You have your goal, your vision, but if you're not consistent and if you're not trying to be dedicated, it's not going to help you at all. So consistency is the key. And as Sajith mentioned, certainly if you guys want to do something within the marathon or triathlon, do reach out. It's a different discipline altogether. A lot of things involved, right? For the bike as such, so many things you need to look at, right? It's very technical to some extent. It does help you if you get guidance. And for me, like people like Tate, Sajith, who really help provide those inputs, they did basically help me out as well, right?
Amazing. Sudeep?
Yeah, so mine is, I mean, I echo what Sajith and Manoj have said. A lot of these things are there, from training, from structuring your life, from ability to multitask, being able to have a call and bike at the same time. All of those we have done. Handling all of that is there. But I think the mental strength is a thing that is there. I mean, aside from these two, I had to dig deep. I knew it was going to happen. When it is going to happen is a question of time. It's happened. So I don't know whether you know. I mean, I follow a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of this data. Mark Allen is one of the biggest triathletes of all time. He's called the GOAT of triathlon. Mark Allen and Dave Scott. There's a huge book on that, and you can read it when you can. Mark Allen says that, and I always have this quote behind me. Say, you might want to you will keep on going and your legs and body will hurt for a week, but you might want to quit and your mind will hurt for a lifetime, right? and that's a beautiful quote that I always put in my mind when I am in the deepest moments of my pain and suffering, and happens through it, and happened in the Ironman during the run, has happened to me in a couple of marathons. But I think the mental fortitude is needed. Some people are gifted. I would say Manoj is a gifted athlete, things like that. Some people are not gifted, but you can still do it. You have to be structured, but mentally, you have to go down. And when you're really hurt, you have to pull that mental strength and push through. And that's there. And Sajith faced it in the swim. I faced it in the swim in my muscle man, and I think I faced it in the Ironman. But I think, hey, we are all Ironman. And the other thing which I would definitely add is the group, the community. I would not have done this Ironman had Dave and Sajid not pushed me. Right? They said, you got to do it, you got to do it. And one of the reasons why my family also signed up is you're training with a group of friends and a community. That matters the most, right? Because Ironman is not the end, it's the journey. And the journey with these people that I did is far more fun than if I do it alone.
Correct.
So the journey is what it is. So you need to choose your right people for your journey. So had Tej and Sajid not pushed me hard, I would not have done. But I signed up for them. I trained with them. I finished there. But so mental strength, community, and the journey with people, like-minded people who will support you through the way.
Awesome. Journey is the destination, which is something which we say a lot in RHWB as well. So thank you guys, Ironman Coach Manoj, Ironman Sajith, and Ironman Sudeep. Man, I can't believe that maybe 1 hour, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 20 minutes just flew by, and we barely touched the surface, but man, thanks for giving us an insight into your life for the last 6 months. And I'm sure right now you're thinking, what am I going to do with all that extra time I suddenly have in my life now that there is not much training? I hope
party hard.
exactly catch up on all.
FYI, It was not 1 hour, Bala. It was 2 hours.
2 hours.
FYI.
Catch up on all of the social events that you missed out. Looking forward. Congratulations again. And let's keep the fun rolling. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Bala.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you.
And thanks for hosting.